hours, like stuff like on the afternoon stuff on it now.
And then say this is your work.
Yeah, it's weird. But I guess if that person's no longer around or something.
Oh no, he's still around. I just won't. I'm just not. Gonna this was done. When she does it at her home, but it's
It's here in town?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What is she? Awkward.
What's her name?
It was such a kick-ass technique.
Okay.
But it's really something like Kika or...
Yeah, it's Dominican.
Yeah. I know Jamal, he owns a tattoo shop in town, and then when the parents of three of the kids that go to our school, they own a monument tattoo. Craig Beasley, he's great one around here for tattoos and genuine tattoo work.
Before COVID, I wouldn't do it on its own, but I mean, it just makes sense.
Well, she just moved into the home, and I guess, and has a little studio.
I don't even know the name of Jamal's shop. I think it's the one that's. Is it Old Glory Tattoo? Is that the tattoo shop here? I think it's that might be what it's called.
But she only charged me $170 for this one, and because of how detailed she did it, I gave her the all bit.
Yeah, it's really good. Sure.
I'm going to start if you guys want. I'm not going to wait on anybody else if they're
Oh,
sure.
yeah, sure.
I
Most
thought it
people
was
should.
until 6:30.
Well, we'll do the information like at 6, and
okay.
then technically the league would start at 6:30 if we wanted to start that. Like I said, we have 2 members that aren't going to be here that normally are our main core members, but one's he runs a restaurant west of here, and he couldn't get off today. So, yeah. Cool. Yeah, in general, so with regards to the league, we're a IATF affiliated event or venue. That's International Axe Throwing Federation. The axes that we throw or that we have here that we can use and stuff like that is NATF, because it used to be called NATF, National Axe Throwing, so they broaden their horizons a little bit, because I know they have some leagues out in like Europe and stuff like that. Those are the standard style axes, so they'll be the standard league approved axes. So it's a minimum of 13 inches in length on the from foot to stem.
Okay.
And then the minimum weight is 1.5 pounds, and I think the maximum weight's 2.25, something like that. I use an axe from Ace Hardware. Honestly, it was recommended from a forum that I just tried it out, and it actually works out pretty well. It's only 1.5 pounds, so it's light. I'm a little bit stronger, so it kind of works out that way. I don't need a real heavy axe and everything, but some people do use the heavier head axes. There's a couple companies that come to mind, like Plum, and Plum's the only one I can think of right now. But they use, and they get to a more head heavy, so you change your stance based on what it is. It'll come to a point where, over time, just like you said with bowling, like you figure out your ball style, you figure out where your holes are, and everything like that. This is the standard axe that I have at Ace, and I just wrapped it with some of our grip tape, which we use here in our normal set, which is hockey grip tape.
Okay.
So just to give me a little bit of edge thing. Some people like this little notch to put their pinky on, something like that. I'm not a pinky person. I don't like that. One of our other members, he has a Steel and Neely axe. There's another brand, and it has one of those, and he does wrap his hand like that, and kind of gets that little pinky action. Because from throwing here standardly before, actually, throwing here standardly before, if you have these little axes are kind of the same weight. They're 2.5 pounds, but those are full steel, so it's distributed weight. So they're the right length and everything like that, but they throw much differently. Right. When you get into the league axes, they're head heavy, so they take a little bit more of a flick. And when we tell you that when we get to the regular axes, or we throw regular axes, we tell you not to flick it, because these are actually more balanced and weighted for the average person. That's why we have them as our standard house axe, and not these, because these break. They're harder to throw technically, but it just depends. So the real rules with how this all works, all of the lines are arbitrary, aside for us league. So that's why they're here. There's a blue dotted line here in the back. That's our big axe breaker. So we actually I should get that. But we throw a large axe, and Scott actually has one in his hand there. It's a big axe that we throw.
That's a wood axe.
It's a full bunch.
These are ones that we got from standard ITF stuff here. I think they're, what are they, 35 inches, Scott, by default?
Minimum.
Yeah, I think it's minimum 35 or something like that. All the rules are online. We look them up if we need to, but most of them are pretty self-explanatory. But this is from the blue line. It's one rotation in, and it goes in. This year, there's changing the rules with regards to how it works. It used to be and this is a tiebreaker. So every round has 3 matches.
Okay.
So every match is 3 rounds, whichever way you want to do that. So if I'm up against you, we would go 3 times, best of 3.
Best of 3, got it.
If you go to a rubber match and it ties, so you I guess 1-1 and then a tie, then that would be a tiebreaker. Then you bring this bad boy out, and you have to throw
Throw
behind
from
this
behind.
blue line. Yeah, and we move the tables when we have more for league and stuff like that because obviously this is in the way. But
Right.
once you do that, each one thing in. It used to be you had to hit just anywhere in the target 3 times, and then after that, it was whoever had the best shot. Now it's whoever has the best shot first off.
Just out of
so
depth,
if I
yeah.
get bullseye, you get red, then I win.
Right.
You know, I win that round. So that's again, that's where I go back to. Each match is 3 rounds. It's on the scoring system 5-3-1, going from the inside to the outside.
Okay.
The green dots are called clutches. Those are worth 7. So in a general league match, you can have 3 rounds of 25, which would be a perfect game, right? 25, 25, 25, five throws each. Or you could have a supernatural, which is the highest score you can go, which would be 4 bullseyes in a clutch 3 times.
Okay.
And I don't know if John's listening, but John's the only one that's done that so far. So
That's just like the quickest way to win, is what you're saying.
well, theoretically, we'll all eventually get to the point where we're doing that pretty often, and then we have to break it with this. That's why. So that's what the big difference between WATL and ITF is that this comes out, whereas in Waddle, which we call it, is just the throws, and people just keep going and going and going until they get to a certain level. I'm actually not 100% on the Waddle rules. John, who usually is here, he does both leagues, so he travels. John goes all around the state and in Georgia and stuff to play in leagues all year round, and he knows a lot more about the Waddle. So if you ever have a question, you can ask him. But for IATF, it's all about the general 3 rounds, and then if he needs to, the tiebreaker.
So it's 5 throws each per round.
Correct.
And
So
just
you'll throw
high
15
scores.
rounds per match.
Gotcha.
And typically, when we get matched, we have a software system that we'll put it into. It's called Axe Scores. You guys can go create your own profile. Everything. You'll be internationally ranked, basically, based on your scores.
Dead last. What up? But I'm online though. What up?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll use that system, and it literally I can bring it out later, but it's a tracking system that literally has this painted on it digitally. So if you get a bullseye, tap bullseye to give you the points and everything like that. All very
okay.
official. After league, it crunches all the numbers and it gives out your scores
Standings
and
and-
statistics based on differences of how often you went for clutch and missed it, or how often you went to it and got it, how many bullseyes you get, how many. It's very statistically accurate.
That's cool.
So you can kind of break down how good
Track
you
your
are.
progress.
Exactly. Yeah.
And as hopefully we get better.
When we started doing all this stuff, we actually had the wrong way to go about it with regards to actually even throwing, because we just started doing it, right? So we used to do like a baseball throw, like coming in like this,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. That's not the way you want to do it. What you end up wanting to do is you want to throw a corner, kind of like a dart. That's why we kind of call it little darts, because what you end up doing is one of the main rules is that you have to start with 1 foot behind this black line, and then the other one can be anywhere it wants. So I play around with it. I start here sometimes, but what I've been doing recently is I start like this. So I'm closer, and then I go in, I take my 1 step, I get in, and then one of the other newer rules this year is that you can't horizon your feet. So that means I have to come and stand with my plant foot ahead of my drag foot, basically.
Okay.
So the big axe rule change, which it doesn't affect you because you've never done it before, but the big axe rule change, the feet horizon change, and then the clutches, if you look on those targets, they've actually shrunk them.
Yeah.
So these are 2 inches now versus 2 5/8.
Gotcha.
So too many people were too good,
Yeah.
basically.
So they made it.
So they made it a little bit tougher. And actually, Waddle actually followed suit and did the exact same thing. So
Okay.
overall, the sport of axe throwing has gotten a little bit harder so that you can't just win all the time.
Gotcha.
Because over time, just like, bowling, you do the same thing. I mean, it's just going to work for you every time.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't work for me, but I usually, like I said, I usually start differently where I go like this. So then there, works out. When you go for points and scoring, it's majority of the blade embedded in the wood. So I have an axe that's more long on the bottom, which still meets specifications, but this is a more even, that's a more even keel axe, where I would get the benefit of the doubt if I went a little too high, but then I get really screwed over if I go a little too low because I don't have that head up, and this is kind of bowed up both ways, right? So there's different ways to do it. That's why different people have different axes. Like I said, Scott, you're at Snow and Neely, right? Yeah. He's doing Snow and Neely. I'm super cool Ace hardware. But then, what does John throw with a plum?
He throws with a bunch.
He throws like 3 different types of axes. He's going all over the place.
Yeah.
Because then some of the axes are approved for Waddle, but not IATF and vice versa. So it just depends on which way you go. That's basically the big rundown behind it. League typically lasts 8 weeks. What ends up usually happening when we have a smaller group is we'll kind of do we'll pick a day and do a marathon. if everybody's cooler with that, and then just kind of do a whole bunch of throws all in one day, just to catch up throws, or somebody's been absent, something like that. Technically, there's rules against people being absent, but we don't really strictly enforce it because I know that if you can't make it one day, you'll make it the next, and usually it's 2 matches per person right here. So if it was just the 5 of us, there'd be 10 matches going on overall, because I'd play you twice, that'd go around.
Gotcha.
And the software takes all care of all that. You just put in the names, it picks whoever's going to go first, and it goes from there. At the end of the league, there is a playoff system that exists. So the top, I believe it's the top 4 or 5, go into a tournament style double elimination, same style that you've been doing the whole season, just in a tournament style, and then whoever wins that league technically. And the reason I specify that is that you get to claim you won the league. We give out a prize, usually a specialty axe that's been engraved or something like that, and we do, you get to take that home and do something with it, or throw it. I don't know. John threw his last time, and that all of the way has been giving you points, like we talked about. You have global rankings, so if you win a league, then you automatically are put into the playoffs at the end of the year, where you can play the playoffs, which is a whole different format. I'll get to that when we get there. It's a bigger deal than anything else. And if you win that, then you can have a chance to go to the IATC, which is the International Axe Throwing Championships, which is held in Toronto, Canada. I don't know why I was going to say Oregon there. That was weird.
Ontario.
That's probably what I was going to go with. Yeah, you're right. I was like, it's not Canada. That's cool. But
Canada, my Canada.
yeah, and that format kind of looks a little strange. You end up doing like 50 throws in a row, and then the best scores basically wins. You can qualify to get to the playoffs at the end of the year by not winning a league, but it just depends on how many leagues we have and everything. This year is going to be truncated because of COVID and all that stuff. So we had 1 league at the beginning. We'll have this, and we'll have another in fall, and then we'll probably do a full-on marathon league / tournament. I think we're going to do like in August, which means like we'll play 8 weeks in 1 day. And usually what we do there is it'll be a prize. So we'll do an entry fee, and then whoever wins gets the prize. We'll provide food and stuff like that. It'll be a big day, that kind of thing. Very tiring, but a good day.
Yeah. So this one that's going on. So it's like every Monday for 8 weeks. Is that like the idea behind?
That would be the idea behind it. Like unless we all collectively agreed that Monday didn't work, or if we want to switch to playing skip one Monday because nobody's going to be here because everybody's 4th of July. I don't know.
Right.
Something
Like
like
Memorial
that.
Day.
There you go. Yep. Something like that.
Nobody. I'll come. I'll be drunk as shit.
And we can discuss that when it comes up, and that could even be a discussion about doing moving that day to Tuesday or something that week, or Wednesday or something. Something that works for everybody.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we're not very stringent because it's a very relaxed period at this point. It's during the summer, very low count.
And if people miss their Monday, you said they can come in and throw on Tuesday to make up their Monday match. Is that
Well, no, it has to be done during the league, so it would just be done the next time.
The next Monday.
Yeah.
Play that match.
Because what we'll do, like in the software, we can preview it later, but it'll just say you missed this week, and I'll just move your matches around, and we'll do it that way.
Gotcha.
If we're gonna be real dicks about it, then you would miss those, and then that would be it. And you would just miss those matches, and then your overall score would technically suck. Your averages and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So it's whatever. But we're not that kind. Honestly, a lot of with the rule changes too, we're probably pretty very, very relaxed. It's hard. I'm having a hard time with the rise and foot thing.
Yeah.
So, because we've been used to doing it the other way so long, and now we have these much smaller clutches. There is a difference with the league where we could actually do what's called, I think, a Premier League, where what ends up happening is everything the same that I said, except that a clutch shot only counts here and here, in between these arbitrary lines that they made up.
Right.
And
the center third.
You have to basically have the 100% coverage. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
With the regular throwing, the 5-3-1 on the target, majority of the axe is blade embedded in the wood, inside measured. We actually do have a caliper we keep specifically for that, because there's been arguments that have come up, and you got to make sure that we have someone to measure it and get the right number. So that's the way every league place does that now. But with the clutches, you just have to touch them.
Anywhere.
Just a little piece, just a little piece of fiber in it. That's all you need, just to get that little touch in it. Because they're pretty hard to hit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Even when we do the normal throwing every day here, when I teach people, I tell you can hit bullseye all day long. It's the clutch that makes or breaks you, basically.
Right.
And then after that, it's the big axe that makes or breaks you if you get good at that, because that becomes a thing. And there's actually big axe leagues and tournaments too. We might start doing that eventually, but we'll wait till we get some more numbers up.
Yeah, that seems like that'd be crazy to try. Oh my god. I'll probably take that damn light out, maybe.
It's not as hard as you think it is. It does look a little daunting, but once you get used to it, it's not that bad. But,
What's with the boards down below? Are people hitting that low too?
yeah, so when
For
this
shade frost.
originally this one was made with this green grass behind it, and then people aren't good, so they end up hitting the bottom.
Well, there's a lot of people that aren't good, which makes me feel better.
Some people it's not good.
Yeah, you can tell those aren't mildly used. Those are. They've got.
We've had people that like start hitting those and like, what does that count for? I'm like, nothing.
Yeah, it's a fucking.
Those have nothing to do with league.
You get negative points.
Yeah, all of these boards that exist, like, so these two boards, this board, these two boards, and this board all don't count for anything. They're just what we call buffer boards.
Yeah.
Because then otherwise you're literally sitting in the back wall and they'll do weird stuff. So that keeps it all together and makes everything look a little bit more uniform and everything. We just switched from poplar wood or a spruce wood to a poplar. So it's actually the more acceptable wood to be throwing on. It's softer. We have this giant can, this HDX water sprayer that we soak them down before the things. Going into that part, if you had a board that was cracked or you didn't feel like comfortable with it, technically you can request a board change. Here we don't have them 100% ready all the time, but we can get it done once we get league going and stuff like that. Because theoretically we would have center boards and sideboards already drawn and ready to go. Yeah, but it doesn't take much to really do one, so taking 3 minutes to make a board, no big deal.
Take your lipstick out, do the red line.
But yeah, that's why all of these boards we're not using those, because these technically would not be good for league. And for every league, we're going to have brand new boards anyway.
Gotcha.
Long story short, with boards, it's actually harder to throw on newer boards because they haven't been chewed up, so that's kind of why they do that.
Yeah.
Once you get good at it, what you'll start to notice is that only the center board, only the black is getting hit, and then the clutches, like over time.
Right.
Because everybody's like honing in, and getting that thing.
Yeah, no one's going for
Yeah.
1 point.
I'm going for any point.
Yeah, but the goal, right, is that you want to be able to bullseye or and hit the clutch. Right? But right,
Yeah.
I'll take anything to start. Point. Oh, woo, what's up, baby?
I mean, any other direct questions you guys think you might have? Or?
No,
No?
not gonna throw.
Yeah, I don't think
Do we
so.
get like a couple practice?
Oh yeah, is there warm up if there is like in
Yeah.
bowling? You get like 10 minutes of practice.
Yeah, so usually what we've been doing is 6 o'clock league or whatever we agree on collectively after today, basically when more people are coming next week, is most people they'll still show 5 or 5:30 and just start throwing a little bit and get to it.
Oh,
They
okay.
won't be perfect boards, but there'll be other boards out here that
Oh, so you
allow.
just show up and
Yeah, and that's part of the league too because we let you come in at half price to come in and throw whenever you want. So it kind of like works out that way. So if you come in at 5:30, I'm not gonna charge you for 30 minutes to throw and then practice until the league. What's up?
Your thing says 6:30.
To start the league.
Leave, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is the information session. Yeah. And you're on candid camera too with your voice, which no one's watching, so whatever. There were like 3 people before, so it's fine. But I'm looking at you, Thomasville people. You said you were going to be here, but in general,
I get rather alive to here.
You got some footage.
commentary.
hey. Yep.
Oh, say Cold Stone?
I know, right? No, it's the liquor store or the smoke shop. They always mess it up. I
Look
don't
for
know why.
Moe's. Nope.
No, he's not even looking for that. Where's he going? Where do you think he was?
I thought it was the bank.
The bank's not here anymore, so I don't know where he's going. Maybe he thought it was Momo's?
He's actually walking on the other side so that way you can see the sign.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he thinks it's
You're on
Momo's.
the
Cause
boat,
something-
you
Do, baby girl.
Hey, yeah, but that one has like a giant thing. Whatever. I'm not gonna worry about it. But that's my basic rundown of league. We have these stencils that we used. This is my rudimentary making of the new clutches. So I just have this line up and I just make a pen mark and put it in there. That was my way to change it without having to learn metallurgy.
Yeah.
So
It's probably a good idea.
yeah. So yeah, that's all I had from that perspective. If there's any other questions, we can get through them. Try to make everything wet on the boards. We try to make everything sharp on the axes.
Oh yeah, and then oh shit, what's my question gonna be? I was gonna. Oh yeah, so are there always like do you guys always provide the throne, or do we have to go out and get our own axes?
We have these. These are the ones like we keep, but they're not going to be individually used to you. They're not sharpened really. So what we bought these originally from the store's perspective, just to sell them to league members. So they're really good starter axes.
Yeah.
But if you notice, the profiles are much thicker.
Right.
And you'll see John specifically. He's almost as thin as mine, but it's a big thick one like this because he likes a heavier axe. But the lower the profile, the cleaner it kind of sticks in the wood, and you'll kind of feel that over time. So if you wanted that, then we would just sell you one, and then you could do whatever you'd like with it. Put on wraps, do whatever you think. But other than that, it would just be like this. I might sharpen it a little bit like this guy, but I can't profile it.
Right,
the way
right,
you'd
right.
want to. So that's a little bit sharpened on the edge, but other than that, not too much.
These, not those.
Correct. Yeah, these you have in any league you have to use wood handles to flip steel heads. So, and then the other little specifications they have and do all that kind of stuff.
You can't use those old, Tonka, like rubber, like plastic ones. That's weak.
Man, that sucks.
Edge is not.
I was
definitely
hoping I
not
could
sharp.
use those.
Makes a little cute little sound when you bounce off it, though.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure all mine's
So
gonna bounce off.
he's going to throw the big X, so you can see that happen.
Thanks for making that down.
Practicing the big X might be a little bit harder during a normal week, but we can figure it out. Yeah. And then, like, for right now, with regards to summer specifically, COVID's kind of basically over at this point, but summer we always go into, like, reduced mode. So if you guys want to come in, just shoot us a message on Facebook Messenger or email or something and be like, hey, we're coming in. Or make a booking and just don't pay for it, but put it in the comments, because otherwise nobody's going to be here. Basically, during the week, Monday through Thursday, nobody's going to be here unless there's a booking. So that's why we do that, because there's no point if there's no workforce and no people here. So
Pay overhead for them to sit around and do nothing.
exactly. Yeah, actually, I keep saying John. He actually was thinking about taking. He saw that mobile. He wanted to take that over to where he lives and have like a tournament over there.
Yeah.
And do that, but it's a little bouncing. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It'll probably work.
Yeah.
Something like that. But he's
That's
really
cool, though.
he's very tournament oriented. We're gonna start getting there, but everybody kind of has to start over with COVID, so we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah,
Cool.
we're pretty easy going. We just talk through everything, and everybody always has fun. So
And so lead typically would start at 6:30, and then how long does it usually last? Like an hour or 2 hours?
to go through us,
Does
it'd
it
probably
matter?
be about an
I'm
hour.
just curious.
Yeah, it'd probably be about an hour to go through all of us in matches. And then I only have one target set up right now, so that's why it would take a little longer. But we could do 2 or 3 or 2 ranges, because you have to have 2 next to each other. That's one of the rules. So we do 2 ranges and do it that way. I obviously didn't know how many people were going to show up today, so I just
Yeah.
did the one and do some demonstrations on it and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that's how we do it. But yeah,
Cool.
that answers that.
Oh yeah. What's the cost per week? What's the cost per? Or do you just pay like a lump?
It's $40 for the whole thing, and then
Oh, okay.
if you come in a couple times to throw, it kind of makes that up for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we
That's
have to
really
pay for the
affordable.
league. We pay for the league software and all that kind of stuff, so it's a cost on us to do it as well. So.
Yeah.
Plus the wood. Wood's not cheap anymore.
Yeah.
No,
So-
it's not.
That's pretty cheap.
You've got like $10,000 right there.
Right? Yeah, it's like you can build a skyscraper with the amount of wood we had in here. But yeah, that's why one of the things that we went to poplar instead of spruce was that we were using spruce because we had a good deal with a lumber yard here in town, and then they started going up and up and up and up, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. So we actually
But that lumber shortage.
it became
right now is
parity
funny.
with the better wood, honestly, and that's the only reason. It was literally it's double the price of what we're normally paying. And I talked to that lumber yard. I was like, hey, if you can get this, I'll buy it from you. And they're like, no. So we actually ordered this wood from New York,
Oh,
and
wow.
it gets shipped down.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And how about so say you throw and you do something illegal with the feet thing? Is it just scratch that throw, or is it like a fault, like intent?
It's a
where you
fault.
go
Yeah,
in
like in the software, it has a fault button.
and you
Basically,
get like one fault.
we
and
have
then
yet
it
to
scratches
fault
it.
somebody.
Yeah, I was just curious.
But yeah,
I just want to learn all the cool.
over time, like once you get it, you'll start feeling that you've done
Someone beat it like
too
that.
hard of a step. Yeah, no, yeah. We usually have so.
Does count.
Any one
Sorry.
of us that's not throwing, that's running the iPad or whatever's back here is usually what we would call the official judge of that match, and they'll make that determination. Same thing as if you came up and you the other person disputed whether or not it was a good point or not. Usually, what you want to do is you want to throw. Both people come up. If it's a 5 or whatever, you say, I think this is a 5. Like, okay, kind of like a camaraderie, just like do whatever.
Yeah.
When you start a match, the main, from that perspective, you just tap axes. Come up, start throwing after that. But a lot of stuff's based on the honor system, and unless the judge just sees a vagrant, foul basically, and then if someone disputes a point on one side or the other, and then that's why we have the caliper. That's why we have a judge that person who's scoring will be the person that makes that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's league members, sometimes it's not. Depends on who it is. If we had more people in here, then we'd have employees that would actually be the referees, and we would do it that way.
Right.
So it'd be a little bit less biased.
Can you
Yes.
show the foot thing again?
Yeah. So it's just so I was playing. Like I said, I was playing with a different foot step. Like you just have
So,
to have this one foot
one foot
behind
behind
you.
the black line
You
to
can start
start.
both. Like I used to start. I still don't throw from both with one behind, and then you have to go in. But then this foot that was my moving has to not cross. So like I'm like this right now.
Right.
Okay, so
Like,
it can't go
if I
farther.
did that, then it was a fault.
Okay.
So you're.
Well, like I said, I'm trying not to be that stringent on it because that's kind of hard to do
It
once
is.
you're in motion, and that's why they did it because people were kind of just like keep
Going,
walking.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think
that's-
that's like the natural thing with the plant,
So
and
you're-
then take a whole step forward.
And then this would actually be, if you guys want to look, this would actually not be a 5.
Yeah.
This would be a 3.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
can easily like, I could see, I'm
Okay.
not like looking too right there.
So it'd be, yeah, it's just majority. So it'd be from this outside.
You'll do- so
So this is much smaller than up here,
And you
right?
count it from
No,
the
you're like
inside of the
this.
line, or you count it from touching the
So
flag.
the outside.
And then you gotta
Oh,
like.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So even if I had a head
Okay.
where I did this. right,
But you gotta
so
pretend like you're
left,
throwing
so it still
too.
counts.
No, no, I gotta be on my feet first. Okay, so one here.
You can test it on the actual
this
line if you like.
here.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Like that. Like
So
that.
close, honey. You're gonna get faulted so many times.
Nah, yeah.
I'm waiting for you to do it and just stop and just
Yeah, I
follow
know,
me.
right?
Well, that's my plan. So your plant foot has to stay
Basically, it'd be
when you plant.
one,
Yeah.
two. Okay.
Because like the way the rule reads is that you have to let go of the axe before your other foot lands, but like that's almost impossible to like regulate. So as long as you have made your full motion and have let go of the axe and it's flying through the air by the time you step, you're fine.
But so when you start, you can have one foot
Yep,
up here.
yep.
Okay, and then.
But then
wherever
like that
this-
would technically be a fault just because you're right on the black. So yeah, you need to have a little gap there. Yep.
Okay.
You don't have to be like that wide. Yeah, obviously it'll be whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
So then you take one step forward, and then this can't go farther.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they call it. I think they call it the horizon effect or something like that.
The
You can't
plant
go
foot has to be
above the
further ahead or further behind. the other
further.
foot?
The plant foot has to be further ahead.
Ahead. Okay. That makes
Yeah. So your landing foot that you're dragging would then have to come up and
Right.
be.
So now not only do you have to think about throwing, you have to think about your feet placement.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit of a mind screw a little bit.
You could just not take a step. You could just sit
Stand
there.
from the back and throw.
Can you do that?
No, a step is required.
Oh, just kidding.
No, you can't.
See?
You're welcome,
You're
viewers.
fine.
And you
You're
can.
welcome, viewers.
We had another person who was supposed to be here for league that she asked about if you could do two hands. You can do two hands if you feel that way. Over time, you'll just feel that you're more accurate and more responsible with a one hand.
It's easier to stay balanced.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with the two hands, I don't know how. I guess you like this. I guess it would work. I've just once you get like locked into emotion, you stop like being good at anything else. So
Yeah.
even when I pick these big axes up, I can't throw them as well as I could anymore because I'm so used to throwing these.
And when you start with the 1 foot behind the line, the other foot could be on the black line, or they have to be clear.
Me anywhere.
So
Yeah.
you're splitting.
Yeah, I was like,
you don't
yeah,
have to. You
right.
can just.
No, that's just how I was just playing.
You
I
look like
just-
you were very far ahead.
Yeah, I just been
because
playing
you're
with
taller.
He's a tall guy.
longer.
though.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, like
Yeah.
Scott will attest to, we went to the IATC and you've got these little guys. I was like, these little portly guys. I don't know. I guess they drink a lot of beer when they throw axes, but they do these like jaunty jumps and come all the way up here,
Oh.
and they almost fault on these. And I've never almost faulted on this because I don't have
Yeah.
to take that large of a step.
Yeah.
So
it's
you
funny
can't
the
go
difference.
past the red.
The red is a fault.
Okay.
And
It's
then
really crazy if you're up there.
Well, yeah, it would be. but-
Yeah,
What the hell you
but
do
you gotta
that
think. So
early,
this is 15 feet, and
Yeah.
then this is 10. So if you can get as close to throwing at 10 feet, then it's a lot easier on your repetitions and your strength.
Yeah.
So if you can perfect that motion, then I think that's why they do
To go
that.
farther ahead.
But then, like I said, the harder part when you get to that
Well,
point
I
is
did
the
that.
clutches. So you got to be able to get up there and try to hit that. I missed, but close enough.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Well, it's not close enough because you don't get the points.
That's close enough to make my point. That's what I was trying to do.
She already kicked out of the league.
Yeah, right. But that's what I was trying to say. Is I was
That's your
playing.
league.
I was playing like this
I'm
because
trying to get kicked out. This
I was
is so
saying that you
difficult.
could do, they were talking about that you had to put your foot down like this, but then they nixed that. So you can do this and you'll be fine. But if you do this, then I come up and I take that step. And you see, I'm not used to that, so my axe is doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to take getting used to, just going through the motions, just like everything else.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people come in here and they're like, why isn't it, like, why am I not awesome? And I'm like, you've thrown 3 times. What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
last time you picked up a bat, you just hit home runs right off the bat? Like, I don't understand. Yeah,
I've seen
so-
every ninja movie. I thought.
exactly. But yeah, that's basically the main spiel of everything.
Did you
So?
ask your phone?